So, hello and welcome to our intro to intuition. So, we're going to be talking about how your intuition is your compass tonight. And again, we're going to kind of talk through facets of intuition. Some of this will hopefully be new for you or go a bit deeper than maybe what you've heard before or learned before. Um, and yeah, so we'll talk through some of the themes, some of the main issues that come up for people, and we'll end with a few kind of practical exercises to do to just get a sense of your own intuition, your own psychic senses. Um, yeah, again, at any point, if there's questions, feel free to type away in the chat. I'm really happy to answer those as we go. And I think that's it. So really briefly, because there's some familiar faces here and there's some new people as well. Thank you all for being here. Just really briefly, my name's Jennifer Main. I've been working as a healer, therapist, psychic, intuitive, modern mystic over the last, oh God, probably close to 13, 14, 15 years now. Um, but have been very, very psychic my entire life. So my background is that I grew up very psychic, and would see even as a child was very empathic and could feel lots and lots and lots, basically everything that was going on around me, which felt very overwhelming. It was very confusing because on some level I could recognize that I was being told something, but there was other information there. So what I was being told didn't match up with the truth. I could also feel if people were suffering or in pain or if they were afraid. Yeah, so there was just a lot of conflicting energy and information that was going on, which I found a little bit difficult to deal with and didn't quite know how to deal with. I was also very visual, so I would see things at night. I would see things in the house. I would see things around. But I never told my parents about it. I never spoke to anybody about it. It was nothing that I think I just thought that I had an overactive imagination, or I don't know. I just never thought to tell anybody about it. Um, and so I grew up and in my teenage years started to get migraines, have really bad headaches. I was also found myself wanting to try to almost a little bit obsessive compulsive with things, which I recognized was attempts to kind of control things and make things like known or fixed. And it was only later on that I realized that, those attempts to control and the stuff with my headaches was this attempt to kind of shut down my intuitive senses. I was working really hard unconsciously to try to shut it down because I was scared of it. It was uncomfortable and I didn't know what to do with it. Um, and it wasn't until I was nearing 30 actually that I started to learn a bit more about energy, a bit more about healing, and actually realized that the stuff I thought was my overactive imagination or that was just in my head was actually me witnessing energy move and change. That I was seeing things that were beyond kind of the physical, tangible realm. And once I started to understand my own senses and how to perceive and understand what I was perceiving, my whole life changed. Like it just made sense of so much of myself and my life and who I was as a person and why I had struggled with so many things. So yeah, so over the last kind of 10 years or so, with working with healing and working with clients and students, this is one of the big things that comes up over and over and over again, whether people know that they're coming to me about their intuition or not. That's often what comes up in sessions or in classes. And so a lot of the work is around kind of demystifying a lot of this. A lot of it's giving language to it in a way that makes sense. A lot of it's helping people to understand that it's not weird or strange or abnormal. And also helping to kind of get over some of the historical and ancestral issues that have happened in the past, because we've all heard stories about either past life regressions or ancestors who were punished for their healing abilities, for their psychic abilities. People were scared of them, they were outcasts. These stories have come out up through history, so no wonder on a conscious and subconscious level people feel like they want to either suppress or push them away or hide their abilities. So we have a complex history with psychic abilities and with intuition. But what I find over and over again is when people can really start to understand how they witness and how they perceive the world, things just start to make sense. Things start to click into place. And in that sense, people can become more accepting of themselves, more accepting of the world around them because they can understand it better, more accepting of their own nervous systems. We'll talk about that a bit. Yeah. And everything, again, things can start to click into place. And a lot of people will say to me, they're like, I want to be more psychic. And it's really interesting because what that always boils down to is if you're not more psychic, it's because there's a fear there that's getting in the way. There's a fear of what you'll see. There's a fear of what you'll hear. And again, some of these are very old historical reasons. Some of it's just, the things we'll talk about a little bit more going on, but feelings of overwhelm, things like that. So it's our own kind of blocks and things that we put in place that stop us from being able to tap into those senses a bit more. So hopefully the stuff that we talk about tonight is going to help make sense of that. The energy I work with is the energy of unconditional love. So even as we're kind of talking through things tonight, even as you're listening, if there are things that kind of start to connect for you and you go, oh yeah, I recognize that, or, oh, I would like to change that, set the intention that some of this stuff can start to open up really gracefully for you, that it can be easier for you, that you can stop fighting yourself. That energy is there for you. And when we do the exercises and the meditation at the end, again, that's an opportunity to allow things to shift within. So hopefully that's a nice little brief overview of what's inspired me to talk about this stuff and why I feel it's so important, because I do think this is the stuff. It's hugely important. So we'll talk a little bit about the intuitive senses, how it connects with the body. Again, we may talk a little bit about some of the normal blocks and fears that come up around that, about the benefits of intuitive senses and intuition. And then again, we're going to do some practical things so you can really get a feel for how that works for you. So in terms of our intuitive senses, there's usually kind of the 5 that people talk about, which is our intuitive ability to see, to feel, to hear, to smell, and to know. So these are the ones that come up more often. The smell tends to be the one that's least talked about and least discussed, but it's really interesting because there are people that can smell things that are not of the physical realm. People talk about when the angels are around, they could smell roses. I've had times connecting with really weird and interesting energies where you could smell like old cigarette smoke and things like that. So I mean, we won't go too much into that one, but I just wanted to mention it because it's a really interesting one. And if you might go, oh yeah, I've had that happen before. So it's always good to mention. So the idea is that our intuitive senses or our psychic senses, and I will say I use those words interchangeably. Some people have hangups around the word psychic because they think it feels weird or scary or otherworldly, like only certain people are psychic, only certain people can do it. For me, it's the same thing. So I use those terms interchangeably. So in terms of our intuitive senses or our psychic senses, they relate to our physical senses as well. So we have physical sight and psychic sight, which is the being able to see visions, seeing aura, seeing colors, being able to see energies, angels, energies of trees, crystals, either with eyes open or eyes closed. That again is beyond the physical. With our ears, and we've got the clairaudience, which is the ability to hear beyond what is present in the physical realm. For our empathy, for those who are the feelers, obviously we're able to feel through our skin, but many of us are able to feel other people's emotions. We're able to feel the energy of the land and memories and things that it holds. We're able to really tap into and feel things from different times, different spaces, different energies. And then there's the kind of the sense of knowing, which is just the information is there. It's very quick. And it's different than the logical mind. It's different than the thinking mind, but it is connected with the kind of the brain and that processing. So a good way to kind of look at how our intuitive senses connect with our physical. So if you think about our physical senses, our eyes can only pick up a certain spectrum of light and color. The way that they are built, the way that they are work, the way that our nervous systems and our brains are, the way we perceive it, we're only going to get a certain spectrum of it. The reality is that there are way more colors and there's much more light than what our physical senses our physical eyes can take in. It's the same for our ears and our hearing. So we know that dogs can hear pitches that we can't hear, and animals will be able to hear things that we're not able to. So we know that there's, again, this spectrum that we're all just tuned into or tapped into different vibrations of that. With our sense of feeling, and really all of these are tapped in with our nervous system. So again, our physical nervous system, but our energetic nervous system. So with our skin, we've got our nerves running through our whole bodies, nerve endings running through our skin. So you're able to feel your clothing on, you're able to, if I've got a blanket on my lap, I can feel the blanket on me here. I can feel the chair underneath me. And I'm able to feel the temperature of the air. So all this is kind of, again, that physical realm, but there's also this capacity of being able to feel the crystals that are here, to be able to feel the energy of this space. So again, we're able to kind of expand out or feel beyond what is present here. And again, the same for the knowing. So if we are only witnessing through our physical senses, we're only getting a small slice of reality. So if we're just being humans, if we're just in this physical plane, we're only seeing, hearing, feeling, knowing, perceiving through what is shown to us in this specific vibration. We're missing a lot. So the reality is as humans, we chose to come here and be humans. We chose to reside in this vibration. So what we perceive with our physical senses is what is in this, is of this vibration. That's why we're able to get it. But when we start to tap into our intuition, what happens is it's like kind of, if you're thinking about looking out of a door hole of, what do you call that? To see who's on outside of the door. You're only going to get a small version of the hallway. You're not going to be able to see everything that's there. Whereas if you open the door, you can see everything that's there. So, so by tapping into our intuition, we expand that hole, we expand that perception. So we get a much fuller picture of what is actually happening. So if I'm only relying on my physical senses while talking to a friend, I might be able to see her body language. I might be able to see that she's tense or frustrated or closing off. I might be able to hear the tone of her voice and recognize how she's feeling. I'll know a bit about her past and be able to kind of piece things together with that. But actually, if we can move into more than just that, more than just the surface or the obvious, we're going to get deeper truths. We're going to get more complete stories. We're going to get more information than if we're just piecing together the physical. So let me know if that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up or a heck yeah in the chat. But yeah, for me, this is kind of the easiest way to understand the importance of intuition. And I think people will start to kind of look at, oh, I want to use my intuition for business, or I want to use my intuition for finding a partner, or, things like that. They're kind of go, well, I want to do it for this. I want to do it for this, and the very specific things. My view is that if we can really start to tap into our intuition and use those senses in our daily lives for everything, it makes everything so much easier. Because again, we're working with all the information. We're working with the bigger picture. We're not missing pieces of the puzzle, trying to figure out what the story is. So you can maybe think of it as either kind of zooming out or moving up above and being able to see the whole journey of what's going on, everything that's happening there. Yeah, yeah, but it really just does give you that that bigger picture. What it also does is it helps us move beyond our belief systems and our perspectives that create filters. So we all grow up with families, with some of us with either religious backgrounds or teachings, with cultural, with norms that are specific to the countries that we're in. And some of that's great. Like some of it's amazing to have some of that conditioning that support the tradition that's there. But what also happens is those experiences, the conversations we have, the belief systems that are in place, we start to accept and build on those. And the idea is that the more fixed belief systems that you have, the more that your perspective is shaped based on that conditioning, the less clear your filter is, and or your lens. So the idea is that if I've just got all these belief systems built up, I'm assuming the world is a bad place, that there's nobody good, nothing good happens in the world. It's all shit, it's all difficult, it's all so hard. That's a lot of stuff getting in the way of me being able to see that actually, yeah, some bad stuff happens in the world, but look at all these great relationships that are happening. Look at where people are doing really good things here. Look at what's going on here. Look at what's going on within me. So when we're able to kind of expand out and move more into the intuition, those filters start to fall away. Some of that stuff starts to loosen up. So we're not so fixed and tight in those little spaces and those little ideas, that we can start to expand out and get beyond what those belief systems are coloring or creating or making difficult. Yeah, so again, with people's intuition and psychic senses, when you start to talk about it, it's really interesting to see how people receive it or perceive it. Because again, for some people, there's a lot of superstition around it. Some people believe only certain people can be psychic or intuitive. Some people believe that they don't know how, or it's not possible. A lot of people just feel like they don't know what to trust. They struggle to find the difference between what is my intuition and what is my fear. And that's a massive one, is that if you are listening to fear, that is not intuition. Anytime you're listening to fear, that's not your intuition speaking. That's the conditioning, that's the limitation, that's the worry, the stress, the old conditioning that's coming up. So one of the great things about your intuitive senses is that, again, because they're tapping you into the bigger picture, you're much more likely to connect with much more truth. And there may be, so if you're thinking about, you're trying to make a decision about a job that's, you want to change jobs, or yeah, there's a big decision to make in your life. There may be some fear involved with that, because anytime you make a big change, anytime you get out of your comfort zone, that can trigger fear for you. If you just stay stuck in that fear, you might just go, oh, I shouldn't do it. It feels weird. It feels off. It feels uncomfortable. I don't feel good. I'm just not going to do it. Whereas if you can use your intuition, if you can tap into those senses and see that bigger picture, you may be able to recognize that, oh, okay, yeah, I can see where that's going to challenge my comfort zone, where I'm going to have to like get out of my own way, or I'm going to have to put myself out there and have some courage. And yeah, that's probably going to be uncomfortable, but actually, I can also recognize how beneficial this is, or where it's going to move me in healthy ways or healthy places. Yeah. So it's kind of it is that recognition of the difference between the two. So for me, again, it's that thing about recognizing that the intuitive senses are always helping you get to deeper truths. They're always helping you to get to a clearer answer. So instead of just listening to the fears, which, by the way, the difference between the two as well, fears are usually the loud ones. That's your subconscious shouting at you, telling you to run away or hide away or freeze, whatever that your stress response is with that. The fear usually shouts pretty loud. You usually feel it really strongly. It's the anxiety, the stress, all that stuff you can feel really viscerally within your body. Intuition tends to be in the calmer, quieter states. I mean, sometimes people talked about how they've gotten a big loud voice in the ear or, a big strong pull. So sometimes it can be more, it can be more extreme. But it's much easier for us to tap into those divine intuitive states when we are present, when we are centered, and when we're really listening, watching, feeling, knowing. What happens with a lot of people is they don't like to get still and they don't like to get quiet because subconsciously they're afraid of all the stuff that's going to come up. They're afraid of the fears. They're afraid of the whatever's going on within their bodies. That's going to come up. So people stay really busy. They get distracted. They stay in their minds. They try to logic their way through stuff. And that'll get you so far. But I mean, your logical mind only knows what it knows. Your intuition knows way more. So when I start talking to people about, it's actually time for you to sit still and meditate with this, you can start to feel it's like they start to get itchy. They start moving around. They're like, oh, I don't know about that. So for a lot of people, this does begin as a practice, and you can start it as a practice. And the idea is that the more you practice something, the easier it becomes. And a lot of people will think, well, I don't know which intuitions I can use. I don't know which sense is strongest. On some level you do. And with the kind of clairs, with those 5 senses, most people have 1 or 2 that feel stronger or more comfortable, that feel really natural to them. If they're not all really strong for you, that's okay. You can even just start with the ones that you feel most comfortable or aligned with. So again, for me, the empathy and the feeling, I won't say it was easy. It was not always easy. It felt very overwhelming a lot of times, but that was the one that I could naturally do from a young age. And again, I was very visual, so I could see energy even with my eyes open all the time. My hearing did not develop until much later. And I think a big part of that, again, because we talk about how belief systems shape our perceptions and how we'll block off what we're afraid of. I kind of, for a long time, I was like, well, I can feel, I can see, and I can know. If I start to hear as well, it's going to be too much for me. It's going to be overwhelming. I'm not going to know how to take it. But also, I've worked in kind of mental health backgrounds where, if you hear voices, you're crazy, right? So that didn't help those belief systems. So for me, the hearing didn't develop until a bit later. And so I do hear now, intuitively. It's not the one I go to first, but I can do it and I'm comfortable with it. So again, the idea is if you practice with it, if you get used to it, if you release your fears around this stuff, it just becomes easier for it to be part of your daily life. And what I mean by that is, so for some people, again, it's that thing of, I have to go sit in a corner, I have to meditate for an hour. I have to really get myself in the space to practice. I think that's a belief too. The reality is that we are intuitive and psychic all the time, every moment of every day. And some people are pretty good about just living with it and figuring out how to integrate it and make it useful and easy and graceful for them. And again, some people feel like they've got to fight it. They feel like it's too much, it's too hard. These are the people that want to run away from all the crowds, that don't want to go to any big events, that can't stand being in a city when there's a big festival or parade, who don't want to be in a massive crowded room, who are overwhelmed by sound, sirens, things like that are overwhelmed. Yeah. So, So hopefully this is ringing some bells for people, because I'm sure some people in the group will resonate with this. So again, people aren't consciously always aware of this, but for the people who are quite sensitive, and most people if you're on this call, you're probably sensitive. Most of my clients and students are very sensitive. and see it as a difficulty. They think it's really problematic. But actually, what it means is you're just very intuitive and you're taking in a lot of information at once. So for me, it's really about learning how to work with it. So instead of it feeling overwhelming or too much, you're just recognizing that it's part of what you're perceiving. It's part of that bigger picture. And you can be a part of that without shying away or pushing away from that. So if there's any questions so far, feel free to type away in the chat. I'm happy to answer if anything's coming up for anybody. What I will do is talk a little bit about using your intuition as your compass. Maybe a little bit about boundaries as well with that, just a little bit, because I think that will be useful. So in terms of, yeah, because I was thinking about this, because I work with a lot of people who are very either pioneering in their work, they're kind of cutting edge in what they're doing, they're creatives, they're artists, they're people who are, yeah, outside of the comfort zone, who are doing things really differently. I work with a lot of people who are leaders, who, I mean, again, if you're leading, you're on that forward edge and people are following behind you. So what that means is for the pioneers, the leaders, the creatives, there's not really a path always. I mean, sometimes there's a path to a certain point, but then you get to the point where you're like, okay, there's no road, there's no path. What do I do now? And this is where it really becomes about you recognizing and understanding your own internal compass, your own internal guidance, and how you can utilize that to guide you. I think as well, a lot of people get caught up in this mindset of, oh, I need to just find a mentor, or I need to just follow what that person has done, or oh, they've done something similar, so I just need to repeat all that. And God knows there's so many programs and things out there that are like, follow these 7 steps, and everybody's following the same 7 steps. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. If it's useful and it's helpful, go do it. However, once you get to that 8th step, if you haven't developed these internal abilities, you're only going to progress to where you can progress to, and you'll be at the same point where a lot of people are. So for the people that want to be doing more than that, that are ready to get off the beaten track, that aren't interested in, yeah, just the same old, this is what that's for. And I mean, again, it's not always the easiest way, because sometimes it feels like a comfort to just repeat. But if you can, but for those that's not satisfying, it really is about kind of coming into these internal senses and being able to recognize what's happening, where you're being guided, where you're being led. So what I found that's useful in terms of practices in those experiences is it's really about asking the right questions. Like the better questions you ask yourself, the better the answers. And anytime I find that I'm not getting good answers, it's because I'm not asking the right questions. So your intuition will give you answers to your questions. Your intuition can also give you the right questions to ask. So we'll do a little bit of this in just a few minutes so you can get a feel for what this is like, and again how you receive and the ways that you witness. But I really do, what I've witnessed for people is that, again, the more you practice it, the more you start to trust it, and the more you start to recognize that this is actually a natural, innate part of you. It's not something outside of you. It's not something that's strange or weird, because again, I want to emphasize everybody is intuitive. We are all energetic beings, which means we can all read energy. We can all tap into energy. We can all see, feel, hear it, know it on some level. So normalizing being psychic, I'm all for. And actually, if we all learned how to tap into this, we would be less disappointed in life. We would be less resentful towards other people because they didn't lead us where we wanted to go, or we didn't get what we thought we were going to get from it, or we release those obligations for them to take us a certain way or tell us what to do or what to be. So it's actually really empowering too, to be able to know that you have the tools and the knowledge and the wisdom that's there within inside you. And I really wish I could remember who said this, because I use it all the time. And if anybody knows who said this and can tell me, I would love that. But I heard I don't know, a couple of years ago about, because I mean, again, when we're trying to figure out what the next step is, or the first step, a lot of times we want to jump ahead to step 23 and we want to know every single bit along the way. It doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes we start the path and the answers come. But what I remember being told was to get directionally correct. And I was like, oh, what a relief. Okay. Because directionally correct, we can all do. And actually, most of us are directionally correct. Sometimes we can veer off sometimes. Sometimes we can doubt things. Sometimes we can feel really off, and we may be off in some areas there. But what I find is if you can just start with getting directionally correct, then things start to align and things start to click into place. And the easier it becomes to recognize what the next step is. Yeah. Yeah. So in just a minute, I'm going to take you into a little bit of we're going to do some exercises just to kind of practice with some of our intuitive senses. Was it Brene Brown who said that? I don't know, maybe. I feel like not, but we'll give her credit. She's great. She says so many other great things. We'll give it to her. Yeah, yes, we'll do those in just a moment. Yeah, sorry. I'm like, there's two things to talk about. We'll come back to the boundary stuff at the end. Because I want to just dive in and get some practice with it. So instead of listening, you're able to do, because we learn by doing. So with these exercises, we're tapping into our nervous system. So again, our nervous systems are connected with our brain, with our sight, our hearing, with our capacity to feel through the skin and beyond. All of that's connected in with the kind of the third eye, a bit with the throat. A lot of people talk about how the empathy is more kind of solar plexus. So you may find that if you're someone who taps into, works with chakras and understands that, you may find that we're kind of tapping into a few different areas there. But this is an opportunity for your nervous system to experience what it is to be intuitive and psychic without fear and without overwhelm and without questioning. It may question a little bit. That's okay. But the idea is to be able to go into this in a place of, being centered and calm. Because if you go in really present and centered, it's actually much easier. Like the more you push, the harder it becomes, like anything in life is. The more you relax into it, the easier it is. So I'll start us off with just a short meditation, just to kind of calm the nervous system and get us again present, clear. I would say stay sitting up, because after we do the meditation, we're going to go into an exercise with our vision. So yes, instead of laying down and getting too comfy, it's just going to be a short little meditation to start with. Right. So we will do this one with our eyes closed to start with. So if you want to just take a moment, close your eyes and get comfortable, and make sure you're sitting in a way that your body's being supported and held. If you're off balance or uncomfortable or fidgeting around, it kind of takes you out of it. It's a distraction. So yeah, be in a seat or a chair, something that's really going to support your body. And start with just taking in a few nice deep breaths. And really allow your lungs to empty and fill. So most of us are shallow breathing a lot of the time. So really let your lungs fill and then empty completely. And as you're breathing, you can imagine that that air, that energy is going to all of your cells, all of your organs, your whole body. And if you are able, if your sinuses are clear, if you're able to breathe in and out of your nose, nostril breathing just helps to calm down your nervous system that little bit more quickly. If you're stuffy or you can't do through your nose, don't worry about it. But it's just a nice little tip of a good way to quickly calm your nervous system down. So don't worry about the pace. You breathe at your own pace, but make sure it's nice, deep breaths. And as you're breathing, just notice that your muscles are relaxing. Your joints are softening. Anywhere you tend to hold tension in the body, you can breathe into those areas specifically. So for a lot of people, it's the jaw, shoulders, back. For the women, a lot of tension in the hips. You may feel it in other areas too. So just breathe in and out of those spaces. And notice that your mind is just quietening down a little bit. It's moving a little slower, a little more gracefully. Your thinking's not necessarily going to stop, but it can become calmer. And you can invite your mind to focus on this meditation and focus on these exercises instead of running amok. So if you give the mind a focus, it really likes that. So just take a moment and bring your focus up to your brain. And just take a moment to notice what your brain looks like, what it feels like, what it sounds like, whatever information you get about the inside of your head. And again, if it's feeling really busy, foggy, overwhelmed, just breathe in and out of your mind, in and out of your head. Just allow it to feel lighter and clearer. And then move into your eyes. You may notice that one eye looks or feels clearer than the other. Our eyes often hold a lot of emotion. So if there's anything that feels like it's getting in the way, anything that feels stuck or heavy, you can just breathe in and out of your eyes, the energy around your eyes. And just allow your body to continue to calm and your eyes to feel lighter and clearer. And now connect with your ears. Again, you may feel that you hear better out of one ear than the other. Your ears may have felt overwhelmed in the past by sound. And just notice what comes up around your ears. Just breathe in and out of your ears and allow that energy to shift. You don't need to know how it has to shift. You can just allow it. And just witness your ears looking, feeling, sounding clearer. And then if you want to move through your nervous system out towards your skin to the ends of your nerves, just notice the area around your skin, your aura, whether that feels really shrunken in, tight, controlled, fixed, or if it's nice and expanded and open. Your nerves feel like they're a bit on edge or overly sensitive. Just notice what your nervous system feels like around your feeling. And just breathe through your skin, through your nerves, and just allow your energy to shift. Allowing any constriction to release, any control to surrender. Again, just feel your body and your nervous system more at peace, more calm, more present. For the next moment, just keep your eyes closed. Just keep breathing and allowing any healing or resolution to take place that's ready to take place now. In just a moment, we're going to do an exercise with your vision. Taking a few nice deep breaths. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hopefully you're all feeling more calm and present and settled. So I'm going to walk you through a brief exercise. We'll do a couple different ones just to get a feel again for your different senses. Yeah, hopefully it's fun. You can treat this as a game. Again, the lighter you take this, the more fun and the easier it can be. So if at any point during this, if you feel yourself tightening up or thinking, oh, I don't know how, or I can't, just breathe through that. Recognize this is play and this is practice. So you can just let it be whatever it is. So we're going to do this exercise with our eyes open. And then we'll do it with eyes closed. So this is an opportunity for you to play with that idea of seeing energy. Well, of course, because we're all seeing energy with our eyes open, because everything's energy. So of course we're all seeing energy. But the idea of seeing more than you thought was possible with your eyes open in our current time-space dimension. So I'm going to take you through this process of practice and play with sight. And again, just keep breathing through it, have fun with it, and just see what comes up. This is just a short little exercise. So to start with, I want you to focus on your screen. So if you're looking at me, you'll see me talking, you'll see me moving my hands around a lot as I do. You may be able to see the pictures and the books and the things that are behind me. but your focus is really just on this bit of the screen. Just allow yourself to really focus in and be present here. And as we go through this, you're not going to move your eyes at all. You're going to keep your eyes in the same place on the screen. But for now, I want you to take a nice deep breath in and out. And I want you to expand your vision. So just beyond your laptop screen or your phone screen. And with your eyes in the same place, just start to see a couple feet or so beyond or side to side. And also see the wall behind your screen. So without moving your eyes, you're seeing the wall behind. If there are pictures, windows, curtains, furniture, whatever's there. And just allow yourself to recognize that you've only expanded your vision out not that far, but actually you're seeing a lot. You're seeing a lot of detail. You're getting a lot of information. There's different colors, different shapes, different textures. There's a lot that's there. And a lot of times we're not picking up on all those details because we're too distracted. We're only looking at one thing at a time, or our mind is full of 10 other things. So now take a nice deep breath. And again, with your eyes in exactly the same place, I want you to expand your vision to kind of your periphery, wherever that is, the sides of your head, where you can see, like you can see your hair hanging down, or, see bits of your nose, maybe out here, and to the walls on each side. Just allow yourself to take all that in without moving your eyes around. You may also recognize that you're seeing down more, so you may also be seeing your lap and the floor. Again, the wall behind you, the walls beside you. So again, just take in all the colors, take in the different shapes. And even if something's a few feet away, even if you believe you would struggle to see the detail, allow yourself to recognize your eyes can take in the detail. Because you're not just seeing with your physical eyes, you're seeing energetically too. And just relax into it. Just allow your eyes to relax, your vision to soften. And now I want you to take a nice deep breath. And I want you to bring your vision back, to continue back and back and back and back, so that you can start to see the walls behind you, even though you're still looking ahead. And that you're also able to see the wall behind you, directly behind you. So it becomes this really interesting dynamic of seeing through your physical eyes, but also seeing in your mind's eye what is there behind you. Now, obviously, if you've got a screen that's showing you that, that's one thing. But allow yourself to look at aspects of the walls that you wouldn't see in your screen. And allow yourself to see directly behind you that your body's covering up in front of the camera. And just keep breathing into this and letting your mind soften and breathe through it. And allow yourself to use your intuitive senses to see what's in the corners, to see what's in front of you, to see what's behind you at the same time. And now take a nice deep breath and also see the back of your head and the back of your body while you're doing all that. Because energetically, you are bigger than just your body, and you are in more places and spaces than just in this here and now. And the realities you can see in front of you and the back of your head at the same time. Moving into 4D there. So just notice what comes up for you around this. If you're having fun with it, amazing. If there's part of you tensing, tightening up, doubting, just keep breathing into that and allowing those aspects to relax. And now what I want you to do is imagine that you're standing in front of yourself. And if you want to close your physical eyes for this, you can. But imagine that you're standing in front of yourself and allow yourself to see what you look like energetically. So for you, that might be the chakra colors, that might be the aura. You might be able to see organs and systems within the body. But just allow yourself to look at yourself energetically and see what's there for you. Treat it as a game. Have fun with it. Even if you're only getting bits of colors or shapes, that's perfect. This is just an opportunity to get a sense of what it's like to play with these elements. If you got a bit of information, whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Does anybody want to ask any questions before we move to the next one? If you want to type in the chat or anything, yeah, let me know if there's any questions that have come up around that. What I will say is, again, if the visual didn't feel as easy for you, that may mean that the hearing or the feeling is easier for you. So sometimes people, yeah, they might not find the visual one easy, but the other ones are. So I would say don't feel discouraged if that didn't feel totally natural 100%. And also remember, it's probably the first time you've done that exercise and the first time we do stuff. We don't know what we're doing. So yeah. So what I would say is it's worth playing with this exercise, especially if you're wanting to develop your intuitive sight. This will help you with your dreams. This will help you with being able to plan and manifest. This will help you with it being able to see your future or see what you're wanting to create. Yeah, it will also help you to get a sense of what's unfolding or manifesting in your life or within you. So yeah, the visual stuff can be really powerful. And can sometimes be quite an easy way to get that, again, depending on your strengths or what you find easy. But yeah, this is something that I would play with again and again, just getting into that idea of I can see energy even with my eyes. It's not something that's difficult. And just, yeah, keep expanding and playing with it. Right. So if you're still typing away, please go for it. But I'll talk you through the next thing we're going to do. So the next one is we're going to do a hearing exercise. So obviously this will be, I mean, you can't really open or close your ears. I guess you could, but no. So we're going to, oh, sorry, I missed the chat down here. Oh no, I got that already. Sorry. So this is again an opportunity to just notice what you notice. It's a chance to notice what you hear. And as I said, my hearing didn't develop super quickly. So if you're not getting a lot or you only get a little bit, that's absolutely fine too. Don't feel like you need to push it or, yeah, judge yourself around this if it's not the easiest one for you. But have fun with it. See, Barbara. Yes. So again, if you want to just close your eyes and we'll connect with our physical ears first and allow yourself to just get a sense of your hearing and the way your physical ears receive the sound. So as I'm speaking, you'll have sound moving through your ears through these amazing little labyrinth bits, little bones vibrating in your ears to help create the sound. And then that wonderful information goes to your brain to be interpreted and perceived. And then you can get a sense of whether it's a sound you like, a sound you don't like, whether you might be neutral to it. So we do this with voices, with music, with sirens, with people's other people's voices, the way they talk, the way they express themselves. So yeah, as I'm talking, just get a sense of whether your physical hearing, whether you hear well from both ears or if one feels a bit stronger than the other. Some people have had damage over the years to their hearing, things like that, so you may pick up on some of that. That might be part of why you don't hear as clearly on one side or the other. But I also want you to start to tap into your ear chakras, which are actually just kind of right behind your ears on your head. That's where your brain processes auditory information. It's where it processes your hearing. And so just notice those chakras are inside of your brain, what's lighting up as I'm talking, as you're hearing my voice. And just get a sense of energetically how all that's working for you. And again, you may just really be able to feel this energy, to feel the movement. And now I want you to move into your body and just gently move from head to toe. And I want you to listen to your body because the body sings. Each organ has its own vibration. They have their own tones, their own movement, their own rhythm. And if you listen, you can start to hear energetically what's happening within your own body. And you may start to notice certain areas that are a bit offbeat or discordant. And then you can hear areas that are in perfect harmony, perfect pitch, that are working together really well. You may be able to hear certain parts of your body sharing messages with you, giving you advice. But even if it's just simple as you're hearing a hum or a sound or a tone, just allow that information to come through. If it feels too quiet, you can pretend it's like a radio dial and turn it up. If it all feels a little bit too loud, you can just really gently turn it down a little bit. Not all the way, because you want to be able to hear it, but make it a little more manageable for you. Again, if any part of you feels tense or unsure or nervous about this, just keep breathing in. Recognizing that your intuitive senses are just doing the work. They're just gathering the information for you. For this last bit, you can move out of your body and just move your energy into the room that you're in and pick one object in the room. Sometimes things like a crystal or something that you use a lot, something that's got some life to it. Allow yourself to listen to the sound or the vibration of that object. So again, it might just be a tone or a bit of singing. It might be a beat or a rhythm. And you may get words. Sometimes if you just focus on one object, you can get a really clear answer. So just notice what you can hear from that object. And again, you can allow it to be louder if you can't quite hear it. And just notice the sounds. It might be simple, it might be subtle. Whenever you're ready, you can take in a few nice deep breaths and you can open your eyes. So hopefully that was interesting and you got some cool stuff from that. Again, if there's anything you want to share in the chat, please feel free. I'm going to take us into one more exercise, and this is about being able to feel and expanding the nervous system out to be able to feel your energy, but also beyond that. Again, what I will say is that for highly sensitive people, this there sometimes is a subconscious slight resistance to doing this if it feels like it's going to be a lot. Again, what I will say is we're picking up on all this energy all the time anyway. All we're doing in these exercises is bringing focus to it and getting clarity on it. So this is something you already know how to do, and actually something that you'll find easy if you allow it. Yeah, so one last time, if you want to close your eyes, you can keep them open or closed, do whatever feels good for you. But I want you to just really allow yourself to feel your energy and feel within your body. And if you're someone who's really good at being logical and in your head, take a deep breath and move down into your body. And imagine your energy going all the way down through your feet and into the earth. And just take a moment to feel that grounding, centering energy and what it feels like to be really present and centered in your body. And take a few deep breaths and really just get a sense of feeling what's going on within you. And you may be picking up on some physical things or some emotional aspects. That's great too. Just allow yourself to notice what you get, the information that you get from really feeling your energy within your body. Whether it feels balanced, whether it feels in harmony. And you can just breathe into that so that it does feel more balanced and in harmony. And now I want you to imagine that your energy is expanding out through the room that you're in. So your energy is around all the walls. And imagine you can feel the energy of the walls and any windows or doors that are there. Just feel that connection with that, with those boundaries of the room. And with your eyes closed, allow yourself to feel the furniture in the room, the chairs, if there are tables or desks or bookcases, pictures on the walls, sofas, books, whatever is there. Why don't you just take a moment to move your energy through the room and just feel the differences in those bits of furniture. Get a sense of what your books feel like, or your sofa feels like, or your floor feels like energetically. Because they'll all feel different than your body or than each other. And you may recognize there's certain bits of the room that feel more comfortable or you feel really drawn to energetically than others. You may also get a sense of how happy the room is. If the furniture is happy with the arrangements. See if you can get a feel for the flow of energy in the room. Sometimes furniture and objects can hold energy from other people, like imprints. So you may be able to feel other people's energies that have been in your house, that have touched certain things. Just take one more moment to just move through the room, feeling the energy. Just notice what you notice. You don't have to do anything about it. Just let yourself feel. Right. So whenever you're ready, just taking a few nice deep breaths. Just return to your body, to your space, your aura, your energy field. We're going to take just one more moment to connect with the nervous system. And again, just nice deep breaths in and out of your body. Allowing aspects of your nervous system to heal, to calm, to clear. So that you can tap into these senses anytime, at any point, all the time. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Yeah, so hopefully this has been useful and fun. Again, I would encourage you, if these are exercises that resonate with you, to just keep playing with them and practicing with them. You can spend more time doing them. You can do them in different environments, different spaces. You may find some spaces are easier to read than others. Some people are easier to read than others. Yeah, and just start to play with your intuition. That's always the best guidance. Just get out and play. Go talk to a tree. Sit with your crystals, have a chat. Yeah, ask yourself questions for guidance. Allow those answers to come through. Yeah, all that's there within you. All those potentials are there within you. Right. Yes. So thank you all so much for this.